Good Wednesday evening, everyone. We are here on a somber Wednesday. Our longtime friend and board member, Vice President Katja Bullock, passed away this past Sunday. And we thought it'd be fun to share some of our stories about Katja. We've all got some great Katja stories, and we're joined by Governor and First Lady Kendall Ehrlich, Mark Unkerfer, Jackie Saxton, and Bonnie Glick.
Thanks,
Welcome to the show, everyone.
thanks, Dwight. We're so honored to be here to honor Katja's memory, the first of many celebrations of her life, I'm sure, that will be taking place throughout the next month or so. She's done so much for so many of us out in Maryland and across the country, has made such an impact for so many people. So this is just a token of our appreciation for everything that she has done for us. Throughout the next 45 minutes, we'll be sharing stories about her impact and the magnitude and the presence that was Katja Bullock. So Governor Bob and Kendall are going to start us off.
Well, I guess in a real sense, Kendall may not be sitting here, but for Katja, because Katja met a lot of the girls, women I dated in the past, and she was always nice, and she was very non-committal. And then one day I brought Kendall Sabisky around, and she pulled me aside, and in her very sometimes harsh, direct way said, "You keep her. You better keep her." It was a threat. And as you know, she liked to threaten people. And most of us were scared of her most of the time. So I took those directions.
I'm forever grateful, by the way.
I bought the ring, and the rest is history. That's a true story. And there are lots of stories about Katja, and they're all true. One of the best friends I ever had in politics, someone who was for me and us from the jump. She was conditioned with her friendship. That means she was not critical. When she thought you had screwed up, she let you know, as we talked about off air. She only yelled at the people she loved, which means she yelled a lot. And she usually got her way because when she yelled, everybody paid attention. An incredibly warm, funny, strong Republican woman. Dwight and I talked earlier this week, and the bottom line to Katja, there's many bottom lines to Katja, but professionally, the bottom line is wherever you go, not just in Maryland, wherever you go nationally with regard to Republican events, and you bring her up, someone will come up to you and say, "Oh, she got me a job." Because she got literally hundreds, maybe thousands of people their jobs. She put together 3 different governments at the federal level, 2 different governments at the state level. She was absolutely integral to, again, putting our government together, a Republican government for the time in almost 4 decades in the state of Maryland. Not an easy task, but she did it in her way, and she did it brilliantly. And for that and so many other things, we will always be grateful.
But she was also really fun to be around. That's what I enjoyed about her laugh and her camaraderie. Ton of hard work. If there was a Republican event going on in Montgomery County, she was there. She was a part of it. And when she asked you to do things, you just did them.
Because you were scared, yes.
Well,
yes,
not that. You also wanted to because she was working so hard. She had me speak in June. She had set it up 5 months beforehand. And she's just a really wonderful personality person, someone that you feel privileged to have known in your life. And that's just the truth.
If people say if you want a friend in politics, get a dog. That's the old line, especially in Washington, D.C., especially in Montgomery County, one of the toughest counties in the country to be a Republican in. Everybody here well knows.
Yep.
But the fact of it is, she built that bunker in Montgomery County, and she was not coming out. fighting to the end.
Yeah, and she doesn't care the circumstances. She's not giving up. She was never given up. She knew it was a difficult place to be a Republican, and boy, did she know how to fight.
She was going to fight to the end.
And the other side, you mentioned how when she asks you don't ask why. She was also because she was like a mother to a lot of young people that have come through. For everyone from David Bossy.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
She was a godmother. She was a godmother. She was a mentor to,
it's just
including us.
I mean, like Kendall, you got boys. When you ask them to do something, and they don't dare ask you why, they just do it. It's kind of how Katja was. When she would say something, you don't ask her why, you just do it.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yes.
You knew you were going to lose in the end, so you might as well say yes at the beginning. Is the bottom line, and it's because you knew when she asked you to do something, it was important to her. And if it was important to her, that was good enough. That was just good enough.
And it was then important to the party, and she was working really hard too. So you didn't want to say no to her because you knew that she was really in the trenches as well, fighting hard.
Since we're being really honest here, we should also point out that when she was a friend for life, conditionless, limitless. And when she was an enemy, forget you. She was tough. She was tough. And nobody wanted to take her on for that reason. It's all of you know. And that just made her a great competitor, especially in this hyper-competitive game we call politics.
We were all thankful not to be in that category.
If you were careful. In any event, we will sign off here in a minute, but she left a legacy that is unmatched. We miss her right now. We have been really touched by the number of people who have called us, contacted us. There is a sense of lost leadership, a loss of somebody who was so integral to so many lives. We feel that. She touched us from the very moment we met her. She touched so many people, not just, again, in this state, but around the country. She was a great friend, a wonderful woman, a smart lady. We love her very, very much, and we're going to miss her an awful lot.
It's the end of an era for sure.
Thank you guys so much for
sharing.
Thank
you guys.
Thank you.
Love you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't we throw it to Bonnie next? So we're going in order of who got on.
You're mute.
Great.
Yep.
Well, everyone is going to say wonderful things about Katja, and I thought that I'll share with you a bunch of the things that people have said to me over the course of the last weeks, from the time that Katja went into rehab to the ICU at Suburban Hospital, because a lot of this goes to what the governor was just talking about. And these are quotes, I'm not going to attribute them, but suffice it to say they're for people whose lives Katja impacted by placing them in Republican administrations, whether at the state level or at the federal level. It's very sad and a shame. She was a wonderful woman, a good friend, and always kept me in line and focused. She was such a great person and so knowledgeable. I didn't know her well, but I know she served in the Reagan administration too. Veterans of that admin are the last people the country can afford to lose now. Someone else said, making schnitzel tonight in Katja's honor. I may break out the schnapps. It'll almost like having dinner at her house. She's been essentially our guardian angel for so long and such a sparkling friend. And the last thing goes to what the governor said. She changed thousands of lives through her service. And that is an incredible testament to everything that she meant to all of us. I'll get a little personal here. My son, Matthew Foldy, wanted to be here, but because of Katja, at a very young age, and Dwight, he got very involved in Montgomery County GOP politics. So he's on his way right now to the Iowa State Fair, where he's meeting with a bunch of the candidates, with some members of Congress, the 2 senators, and the governor. Katya inspired him to lead in the Republican Party. She was like his godmother. And when she awarded him, when I think he was 14 years old, the Montgomery County GOP Young Republican of the Year in memory of her beloved husband, Al, it really meant the world to him. On my own personal level, we all have Katya's stories. I just have to say how important she was to me personally. When I was the deputy secretary of the Department of Aging in Governor Hogan's administration, Katya had already moved from the Hogan mansion to the White House. And so she poached me from the Hogan administration to serve as the deputy administrator at the U.S. Agency for International Development. And in that role, I met with her all the time to fill vacancies for political appointees at USAID. And as Governor Ehrlich just said, if you were on her bad side, woe unto you. And there was basically no recovery. So my boss, the administrator of aid, offered me up as the sacrificial lamb to work with Katya and the White House on that relationship. And it was the very best part of my job. Anytime I had to go to her office at the White House, I always knew she was going to be full of good cheer. Probably she'd offer me a drink. And I always declined. It was working hours. But really just a monumental force of nature. And all of us are honored to have been a part of her lives. She touched all of us so deeply.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie. I think we should put Diana. Welcome, Diana. I think we should put her on because I think her internet is a little spotty.
Get her while we have her.
I started on my phone because I wasn't home yet. And then I switched over, and the internet at home isn't great because I live out in the country. So now we're back to a hotspot on the phone. But thank you guys for letting me share in this. But yeah, everybody has their Katja stories. But I think it's interesting, both Kendall and Governor and Bonnie mentioning about bringing up thing about if you were Katja's friend, you were Katja's friend for life. But if you crossed her or did anything wrong, your life, your political life might as well be over, because that's my first and strongest memory of Katja. Back when Audrey Scott took over the chairmanship after Jim Pelora, for those of you who were involved in the state party back then, I'm sure you vividly remember how we spent a good 2 hours of every single convention or more debating, voting, and arguing about how we were going to vote about nothing of importance. And one of the things that Audrey decided to do when she came on board was that we were going to come a voting method all approved that we could into our bylaws and put in as a bylaws amendment, stop wasting all time about voting. And being my friend, Audrey asked if I would represent the shore on this committee. I'm like, sure. And then she tells me who else is on the committee, and she is also friends with Katja, so she has asked Katja to be on this committee as well. But not only does she want me to be on the committee, she wants me to chair the committee. And I was pretty newbie into all of our party stuff there. Not real new, but relatively new. And I'm like, oh my God, there is no way I am ever going to get Katja from Montgomery County to be on board with whatever we're coming up with the rest of the state. And I'm going to make me and my political life is going to be over before it's even begun. Quite the contrary, Katja and I got to working with the rest of the committee and came up with the voting system that we still use to this day, that to bring the Montgomery County, we're the biggest county with the most Republicans. No offense, Montgomery County folks, most of the people
None taken.
are, but Montgomery County, we have the highest number of Republicans, so we should have the biggest vote, as opposed to the little counties, the Carroll, well, smaller counties, but Carroll and the Eastern Shore and Western Maryland. But we elect all the Republicans, so we should have a bigger vote. And we came up with the formula together to make those sides give up a little, compromise, give up a little, get a little, and everybody be okay with it. The bylaws got adopted. The voting method has been a part of the bylaws ever since, and now we don't spend countless hours arguing it. But instead of making me on the Katja bad list, it was the beginning of a fabulous friendship. And I mean, I just like everybody else, not say enough good about Katja that she was always in your corner. She would do anything and everything for you. But the other thing is, you could go months without seeing or talking to Katja, and you run into her, and it's a big hug and kiss, and it's like you just saw 5 minutes ago. So there is no one like Katja, and we are all going to be sorely at a loss. The only good thing about it is, you've all mentioned it, the number of lives that she has touched, the number of now probably not young people, but middle-aged people and young people whose careers she got started and mentored. And she even met those of us who are a lot more seasoned than some of our young people. And that legacy that she has left behind is going to continue to grow and grow, because all the people that she mentored have gone on to mentor other people, and they've mentored other people. So we will see the Katja effect for a long time to come, I'm afraid, I hope.
Thank you,
And
Diana.
one other thing with Diana, one other thing with Katja was, you can disagree with her, and she's not going to hate you for disagreeing with her. Because as you know, we've been on different sides on whether it be National Committee Woman race or whatever, or National Committee Man race. But as long as Katja knew where you stood, she was still your friend. Friends can disagree. And that was the thing about Katja. But if you tried to play both sides of the fence, that's when you get on her bad side. Katja wanted you to be a straight shooter with her because she was a straight shooter. She told it like it is. And that's all that anyone can pretty much ask for, frankly.
Yep.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Why don't we throw it to Nicole next?
Okay, Nicole, welcome. First Vice Chair of the Maryland GOP. I hope you're safe and not in traffic. And
I'm on the side of the road, so.
And you don't have your seatbelt on. Shame on you.
I'm not moving. I've pulled
You would know if she was moving because her car would be yelling at her.
It would be yelling and be screaming.
Well, you can see in the background that nothing's moving, so you know she's parked.
But anyways, tell us, give us your favorite Katja story.
My favorite Katja story is probably the second or third Montgomery County club meeting. I had the distinct pleasure of sharing a table with her. You know how we put all the tables together and we're just kind of all bunched up. And we spent the greater part of maybe 15 minutes deciding on who was eating the most bread and how we were going to defend our bread from the hungry people who were kind of just popping from table to table, munching on people's food. My experience with Katja has been that of love and light and laughter. And that is not to say that she hasn't given me some very sage advice, advice I will carry with me forever. She told me when I was considering not running for first vice chair again, she said, "Why would you not do that?" And I think that's the first person who ever said, "Why would you not do it?" So I had no reason. And I was like, well, I really don't have a reason. And she gave me this look that I understand when people say, like, certain moms have a certain look. She gave me the look. And I'm like, well, yeah, running's not that bad. I mean, I can do it. I can probably do another term, Katja. Not a big issue. But we talked about putting, yourself into the community and doing good works, being the pebble that would have the ripple effect across the lake. And she's done that for so many, and I'm honored to be in that number. But what it means for women to do that for other women, to not just build yourself an empire, but make sure that what you do for the community grows republicanism and traditional values across a wider spectrum. And I think that is probably my enduring memories of Katja. Some of the laughter at some of the meetings, she was a laugh riot. She was happy and filled with life. She was one of the rare people that kind of find their niche in life and they kind of live in that happy spot, that fulfilled spot. And it kind of makes you want to get your life together so you too could live in that happy and fulfilled spot. She was very much a mentor in that regard. I don't know many Republican women who know Katja Bullock, who in some way, shape, or form didn't look at her and say, man, that's the kind of Republican woman I want to be. I want to be well regarded. I want to be known as a straight shooter, as Diana mentioned. I also want to be known as smart and capable and politically savvy, short of calling Katja the badass that she is. I mean, Katja Bullock, by all descriptions, absolute badass Republican woman. So I'm very happy to have known her. I wish I'd met her many, many, many years before. I think I can definitively say my political life would be absolutely different had I crossed paths with her earlier. But I'm so grateful for the time that I did have with her, and I'll carry those memories with me forever.
Thank you, Nicole. Dwight, I would say probably out of anyone on this call, you've known her the longest.
Yeah, I'll go next. And I got a couple of, see this? I don't know if you guys can see this too well, but you know what this is? This is an inaugural ticket to George H.W. Bush's 1988 inaugural. And that's actually how I met Katja. We were excited because our Republican club, we had about 100 members, and we have 100 members in Montgomery County of any Republican organization. It's a big number. And we were all excited that George H.W. Bush won. He took out Mike Dukakis, won 2 states. He was the George McGovern of our generation. And so, I call up the Republican Party office, and Katja just happened to be there. Mm-hmm. And I go, hi, I'm Doug Town with the Blazer Republican Club from Montgomery Blair High School. We really want to go to the inauguration of the president, of Vice President Bush. And she goes, first thing she goes, slow down, honey. You're talking too fast. So I repeat myself slower. And she goes, now that's better. And then she goes, honey, you and everyone else wants tickets to this. You're probably my millionth call today for tickets. And she goes, let me take your phone number down. I can't promise you anything, but I will see what I can do. So, this was in the week after, this is the week of the election. And Thanksgiving comes and goes. Christmas comes and goes. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day comes and goes. And it's like January 10th. And I'm like, I guess Katja's not going to be able to come through. I did not know she was a miracle worker at that time. Mm-hmm. Next thing I know, I get a call like around 7:30. Can you come to my house? These are not the best tickets. You're not going to be sitting next to the president, but you'll be able to see the president. So she got this and 12 tickets. You guys know Marcus and Jeff. Mm-hmm. They were also there with us back in 1988. And then she goes, oh, also, my friend Lee insisted I give you these 12 junior inaugural ball tickets. And those were like gold. And I didn't put it all together right then when she said her friend Lee. I go, it must be somebody that worked on the campaign with her or something like that. She never put on airs like, I'm going to be running presidential personnel for the Bush administration. Mm-hmm. Nothing like that. It's like, you just think she was just a regular Joe volunteer who just, knows the right people. But she was the right person. So we got to go to the junior inaugural ball. That was a lot of fun. That was also the same ball where Lee Atwater famously played, jammed with his electric guitar at the ball there. It was great. We got to meet a lot of people at the inauguration, just stumbled across people. It was funny. There was this, the name slips my mind, but there was a congressman from Georgia. And he was in the fancy seating, where members sit. But he actually came down and talked to us people in the red zone, so to speak. And very nice guy. And I got him, but that's my first encounter with Katja. And then I called her up, say thank you very much, and And then she goes, do you have any of your, she goes, do you have any friends that would want to volunteer?
Mm.
That are, she goes, they have to be at least 18 to volunteer. I go, I can ask around, and, Montgomery County, not many young kids want to volunteer for anything, frankly. They want to either be paid or not do anything. So I told her I couldn't do that. But, I stayed in touch with Katja when I was over at GW. She helped me get speakers for the college Republicans. I mean, we got some great speakers at George. She helped us get Bob Dole to come to GW. She helped us get Don Nichols to come to GW. Let's see. This is Paul Laxalt was in town, and she goes, the senator would like to meet with the young people, and so she got us Paul Laxalt to come to GW. It was great. I mean, these are legendary people: Bob Dole, Don Nichols. Not to be confused with the other legend, Don Rickles. And it was awesome. She has always been there. I remember in '96, I was working on a congressional race in New York, and the candidate wanted to go to the convention in San Diego. Problem was, she only had credentials for herself to the convention. So, we got to San Diego. My buddy Matt and I were there in San Diego. We don't have tickets or anything like that. So I call up Katja. I go, Katja, we're in San Diego. She goes, call Joyce Terhez. Tell her that Katja Bullock says, give you guys 2 tickets. I call Joyce, basically, I call up Joyce, and she goes, yes, I was expecting your call. Katja told me, I owe you guys 2 tickets and passes to various events.
Wow.
So Matt and I took in San Diego, they had shuttle buses running around, so we had to take the shuttle to the Travel Lodge, which, by the Maryland GOP has come a long ways from San Diego. They were staying at the Travel Lodge in San Diego. And went there, and Joyce had the tickets ready for us, and she goes, and she said, a really great lady. I hope you appreciate that. I go, I do. I really do. She helped us out with the inauguration, and I think my last story is the one I was talking in 2010. It was the Ehrlich campaign, and over at Ehrlich headquarters was across from a Jeep dealership. And I was talking to my friend Andy, and I go, Andy, I think I want to buy a new car. Katja over here, and Katja goes, what's wrong with your car? I go, nothing at all. She goes, then you don't need a new one. I go, but it's old. So what? You keep it. Don't buy another car. So I didn't buy another car. 2 years later, the transmission, I didn't have to buy a car. It was great, but that's my Katja story. Katja will be sorely missed. I mean, Katja,
absolutely.
Beyond politics, she has mentored so many people. She takes it, beyond politics, she also would have wounded warriors over to her house Sunday evenings for dinner. She would do stuff in the community, stuff that, she would not, if she didn't go around telling them, oh, look what I'm doing, it's just stuff you hear from the grapevines. She was one of the few truly authentic people in politics, and there's so few of those, because most of the folks, as you all know, we meet in politics, with us present being the exceptions to the rule, are pretty much for what can you do for me, not what can I do for you. And Katja was what can I do for you, not what you can do for me. And
but Dwight, she, as we've already acknowledged, she was not a pushover.
No, she was not.
She would let you know where you stood. And
actually, that reminds me. When I worked for ACU CPAC, Don Devine was the vice chair of ACU, and Don goes, "Oh, we're in Maryland." I go, "Montgomery County." He goes, "Do you know that? Do you know the Iron Lady of Montgomery County?" I go, "Who's the Iron Lady of Montgomery County?" He goes, "She's tough as nails and puts the fear of God in politicians all over the place." And I'm like, what's her name, Mr. Devine? He goes, Katja Bullock. I'm like, yeah, I know. I've known Katja since I was 16 years old. Katja's great, And he goes, yeah, she's your answer to Margaret Thatcher, Phyllis Schlafly, all rolled up into one package. She doesn't take guff from anyone. But stay on her good side. That was Don Devine's advice to me: was stay on her good side, and I did. I'm alive, so you don't cross Katja Bullock and live to tell about it, frankly.
Yeah.
But
And
if I could, one of the things that's really extraordinary about her was her work ethic. And if I could, kind of two sets of stories. One, Dwight and I were talking before about he was looking for pictures of her at various dinners in the VIP room, and he wasn't Dwight. You weren't finding many, and of course the reason was fairly simple. She wasn't in there. She could be counted on at every event to handle registration, and she had a team of people who knew how to do it and do it right, and she knew how it was supposed to be done. And if you didn't have the preparation done right, she would let you know. But that was her style, was to make a point of not going in and schmoozing with the folks, with the VIPs, but to be right there doing registration. And she did it again and again and again, over and over and over again. So that's kind of one style, and it reflected. But then I'm reminded of another time. So in 2014, the Montgomery County Party was watching the election. We had an election watch party up in the penthouse, as we had many events over the years up there. Many fundraisers and many other kinds of events, but Christmas parties and what have you. But we had the watch party for the 2014 election up there. And I think many of us remember how the returns were coming in, and we were kind of waiting. Larry Hogan was ahead, and that lead was holding up, and it was really beginning to look like, well, he was going to win. But I think the moment it was absolutely clear is she took me aside, because she was the host of this event, and she said, you guys are going to have to clean up. You're going to have to close this down. I got to go. I got to go to Annapolis. And basically, we're going to start on the transition. And I'm out of here. So you guys are in charge. You take care of closing everything down. And that really is her style, which was, when Larry won as governor, she was called in, and she ended up taking a very active role in staffing the administration, as Bonnie already described, and she was ready to do it when the bell went off.
That's awesome. I can feel
and
that.
also,
The
other thing about Katja was the Christmas party. She loved doing that. I remember Bruce Stern and I once asked her, "Hey, Katja, what do you think if we do a tiered Christmas party? We do like a VIP where we charge." And she goes, "No, you do not fundraise off of Christmas. It's for the children. It's not for us to line our pockets, And that's,
Yeah.
So, Jackie?
Yeah. So I haven't known Katja as long as a lot of the people on this call. I moved to Maryland in 2018. But in the few years that I've gotten to know her, she's become, when I've told people and I moved here in politics, I've kind of adopted a family through politics. Katja is one of the people I considered to be another grandmother to me. Every time I got to see her, she always had sage wisdom, a story, something to make me laugh, a glass of Merlot. And, I think I've been to her penthouse so many times just because anytime somebody needed an event, a fundraiser, for anything, when Dwight ran for office, when Matthew Foldy ran for office, anybody, she was
And that's
there.
the thing. She would always open up the penthouse for fundraising.
Yes.
Dan Bongino had his very first fundraiser at Katja's place in 2012.
Yep. And she was not afraid to put out a lovely spread, and, she would ask for nothing in return. She was one of the most generous people that I've met being involved in politics here. And, the number of stories I've heard, from before she passed to since she's passed this weekend, on the lives that she's touched, the people that she's made a significant impact on, the careers that she's jump-started, from Dwight's to Dave Bossie's, to everybody on this call and everybody that I've met. Everybody I've met in Maryland politics knows Katja. And, the other side was scared of her. She told me stories about how Wes Moore's team, pre-primary, was scared of her running Montgomery County for Kelly Schultz. They were afraid that she was going to carry that and that they were going to lose. she was an absolute powerhouse, and she's definitely who I want to be when I grow up. So we're going to miss her so much. And I wish I had gotten more time to spend with her and get to know her. But hearing all the stories from people and their experiences with her have definitely uplifted my spirits, just to know that she is not gone, because she's left so much of a legacy here, and that we're all going to continue to remember her and to memorialize her and to recognize all of her hard work and the things that she's done for Maryland and for the country. So on that note, thank you all.
Diana,
Yeah.
Diana, do you have any other stories you'd like to share? Or you've known her for a
Oh,
while.
I just,
as well.
the one thing I did want to mention that I didn't before, thanks for another minute, but not only was she such a driving, influential, fantastic force in the party, she was also as invested and as strong a supporter of the women, the Republican women's organizations. That I'm not everybody, but you see in many cases we have Federation people and we have party people, and there is some crossover, but not entirely. Not all the party people, not all the women in the party are active in the Federation as well. And for Katja being such a long time member of the Montgomery County Federation, in fact, she was president of Chevy Chase again. I'm not sure how many times that would have made her be president, but I know she had to have done it multiple times. And no matter where she was, in a president's administration, the governor's administration, wherever she was still Katja, who would come to the Republican women's meetings or the Republican club meetings, or take care of, keeping the president's or governor's administrations actually functioning. She was there for all of it, and she loved all of it. And she was the same Katja wherever you ran into her, in whatever walk of her life she was the same Katja. There was no difference, I think. And so that was she was such an influential force in so many different facets of life. And we've talked about the charitable aspects as well, touched on those. I don't know those as well, but I am positive that if she had any extra time left over, she was doing everything she could for everybody. And the fact that she came out of retirement for Hogan, that I was like, she was, not Hogan, for Trump. She was like, no, I'm not ready. I'm retired, but they brought her back, and she still kept on working hard, and got both of those administrations going well.
Yeah, and one last Katja story for me is I ran in 2013. The RNC did a Northeast Regional Convention where I met Carl Rove there, and I go to Carl Rove. I go, Mr. Rove, you and I have a mutual friend, And he goes, who's that? I go, Katja Bullock. Oh, she scares me. She puts the spirit of God in me. And it's funny because Carl Rove is a self-proclaimed agnostic, And I'm thinking she makes Carl Rove. And he tells me, he goes, she also scares the president too.
There will be nobody like Katja.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you talk on obviously at one point a number of years ago, Carl Rove was a speaker for Montgomery County at a dinner. It's because of Katja, but I think over the years she's been instrumental in a number of people who've been participated in events. And it's interesting. I think, for example, of Bob Tuttle, who was the head of presidential personnel in the Reagan administration, and then was later ambassador to Great Britain, who was one of our speakers, and the affection with which she talked about Katja and the respect she had for her. And we were talking, I think at that point it would have been 30 years.
Reagan, it was the Reagan centennial we were talking. I think that's when he was speaking.
Yeah, I mean, it was well after the administration, but he was ready to make himself available to come to Montgomery County because of Katja. And again, at the event, talked about Katja's role in the Reagan administration.
Yeah. So I think we'll wrap up by saying that she's impacted every single one of us and so many more people than who are just on this call. And, we encourage you to continue to share your stories, share your thoughts, your memories of Katja and her family in your prayers.
and those of that are watching, keep September 7th. Save that date. That is where the Republican Club, we're doing our farewell, celebrating Katja's life, at the way Katja would want us to at a political event,
with
having
Merlot.
yes,
with
pizza
wine in
and
hand.
politics. And we're doing it, and we're gonna provide a lot of friends of Katja's that will be there. I think a few people on this call will be there. I think all of us will be there actually, and many others. Do come on out. It's at the Mama Lucia's in Olney. We're going to do it September 7th. It's going to be a great event. It'll be one of those events that you don't see every day, so to speak. You know.
And we'll invite people to share their own Katja story.
Yeah, and yes, and you'll be able to everyone will be able to tell their favorite Katja stories, and it'll be a good place to kind of just share stories and kind of show our appreciation to the Grand Lady, or as Don Devine would say, the Iron Lady of Montgomery County.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening tonight and for remembering Katja with us. And we hope to see you on the 7th.
Thank you.
Night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to join you.
Thank you guys so much for the invitation.